She grabbed him. Just grabbed him. A complete stranger in a sharp black suit surrounded by bodyguards, and she kissed him. Hard, desperate, like her life depended on it, because it did. Amira Lee's hands were shaking when she pulled back. The man stared at her, expression unreadable. Around them, the entire Incheon Airport terminal seemed to freeze. Immigration officers, travelers, security cameras, everyone watching. She'd just kissed a man who looked like he could end someone's existence with a phone call. He smiled. Slow, cold. "Urianerago halgeo," he said. "I'll call you my wife." Amira's stomach dropped. Welcome to First Epic Tales by Liam. Please like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Okay, rewind. This is Amira Lee, 27, Afro-Korean, mom from Busan, dad from Detroit. She'd been living in Seoul for 2 years, teaching English, making friends, building a life. She loved it here. The food, the energy, the way the city never slept. But 3 hours ago, she found out her visa was expired. Not her fault. Her ex-boyfriend Jason Kim, yeah, that Jason, had forgotten to submit her renewal paperwork. Forgot. Right. He did it on purpose because she broke up with him, and now she was about to get deported. She had 3 hours before her flight back to LA. 3 hours to figure out a miracle. Spoiler, she didn't figure it out. So when the immigration officer cornered her in the terminal, flanked by a translator and 2 security guards, Amira panicked. Full-blown, heart-racing, sweating through her shirt panic. "You have no valid visa," the officer said in Korean. "You must leave today." Amira's Korean was fluent. She understood every word, but understanding didn't help when her entire life was about to disappear. "Please," she said, switching to Korean. "There's been a mistake. I have documents." "No documents. You leave now." That's when she saw him. Tall, expensive suit. 3 bodyguards in black. The kind of man who didn't wait in lines. He was walking past her toward the private terminal exit, and something in her brain just snapped. She lunged, grabbed his tie, kissed him. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't even planned. It was survival. When she pulled back, his bodyguards had already moved to grab her, but he raised one hand. They stopped instantly. His eyes were dark, calculating. "What?" he said slowly in English. "Are you doing?" Amira's voice cracked. "I need help, please. They're deporting me and I—" The immigration officer stepped forward, speaking rapid Korean. "Sir, this woman has an expired visa. We're handling it." The man glanced at the officer, then back at Amira. Then he smiled. "She's my wife," he said in Korean. The officer blinked. "What?" "My wife. We've been married for 6 months. I've been traveling for work." He pulled out his phone, tapped something, and handed it to the officer. "Here's our marriage registration. Check the system." Amira's heart was hammering so hard she thought she'd pass out. The officer stared at the phone, scrolled, frowned, scrolled again. This is legitimate," he muttered. "Wait, what?" The man turned to Amira, switching to English. "You forgot your documents again, Jagia, honey." She had no idea what was happening, but she nodded. Yes, I forgot." The officer looked between them, clearly suspicious. "We'll need to verify this. Both of you, follow me." The man, whoever he was, didn't move. He just looked at the officer with this cold, calm authority that made Amira's skin prickle. "Officer," he said quietly in Korean, "I don't think you understand who I am." The officer's face went pale. One of the bodyguards leaned in, whispered something. The officer's expression shifted from suspicion to fear. I apologize, Mr. Kang. Of course, everything is in order." He bowed, actually bowed. "Please, go ahead." Mr. Kang didn't acknowledge him. He just turned and started walking toward the exit. Amira stood there, frozen. One of the bodyguards gestured for her to follow. She did. They walked through restricted hallways she didn't even know existed, past security checkpoints where guards nodded and stepped aside, through a private exit that led directly to an underground garage. A black SUV was waiting. The man opened the door himself, gestured for her to get in. Amira hesitated. "Who are you?" "Kang Minji," he said. "And you just became my wife." "Get in." She got in. The door closed. The SUV pulled out smoothly, flanked by 2 more identical vehicles. Amira sat in the back seat, hands still shaking, trying to process what just happened. Min-jae sat across from her, adjusting his cufflinks like nothing unusual had occurred. You speak Korean, he said. Not a question. Yes? Good. That'll make this easier. Make what easier? He looked at her with those unsettling dark eyes. Living with me until your visa situation is resolved. You'll need to convince immigration that we're actually married. That means learning our story, our routines, how we met, when, where. He leaned forward slightly. You'll live in my apartment, sleep in my guest room, and you'll play the role perfectly. Amira's throat was dry. And if I don't? Then I call immigration right now and tell them it was all a mistake. She swallowed hard. Why are you helping me? Min-jae smiled again, that cold, unreadable smile. I'm not helping you. I'm using you. You'll understand soon enough. The SUV turned onto a highway, heading toward Gangnam. Amira looked out the window, watching Seoul blur past. She'd just escaped deportation by kissing a stranger who, apparently, had enough power to falsify marriage documents in under 2 minutes. A stranger who smiled like he knew exactly how this would end. Jinja, she whispered. Really? Min-jae heard her. Dead serious, he said in English. Welcome to my world. The apartment wasn't an apartment. It was a penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River. Marble floors. Furniture that probably cost more than Amira's entire year of rent. She stood in the entryway, backpack still on her shoulders, feeling completely out of place. Min-jae walked past her without looking back, loosening his tie. Guest room is down the hall. Second door on the left, bathrooms attached. Don't touch anything in my office. One of the bodyguards placed her suitcase by the door and left without a word. The door clicked shut. They were alone. Amira didn't move. You still haven't told me why you're doing this. Min-jae poured himself a drink at the bar. Whiskey, neat. Does it matter? Yeah, it does. He took a sip, considering her. I need a wife for appearances, business reasons. You needed a visa. Simple transaction. Business reasons, Amira repeated slowly. What kind of business needs a fake wife? The kind you don't ask questions about. Red flags, everywhere. But what choice did she have? Min-jae set his glass down and walked toward her. Not threatening, just intense, like he was studying her. Tomorrow morning, an immigration officer will come here to verify our marriage. You have 12 hours to learn everything about me, about us. One mistake, and you're on a plane back to LA. Amira's jaw tightened. Okay, so teach me. He almost smiled, almost. Sit. She sat on the couch. He sat across from her, pulling out his phone. We met 2 years ago at a charity event in Itaewon. You were volunteering, I was donating, we talked about art. You liked Basquiat. I liked traditional Korean ink paintings. We argued. I found it charming. Amira raised an eyebrow. Basquiat? Really? You need better taste, Min-jae said flatly. We dated for 8 months before I proposed. Small ceremony, only close family. Your parents didn't attend because they don't approve of you living in Korea. That part stung because it was almost true. And why? Amira asked carefully. Don't they approve? Min-jae's expression didn't change. Because you're Afro-Korean and they think you should be in the States. Not here trying to fit into a country that doesn't fully accept you. Silence. He'd just said the thing no one ever said out loud. Amira looked away. Okay, what else? You work as a freelance English tutor. I work in acquisitions and private equity. You moved into this apartment 4 months ago. You cook breakfast on Sundays. I don't. You hate my work schedule. I ignore your complaints. Sounds like a real healthy marriage, Amira muttered. It's believable. That's all that matters. He handed her a folder. Inside were photos, photoshopped photos of them together, at restaurants, at a park. One where she was laughing and he had his arm around her. She stared at them. How did you? I have resources. Amira flipped through the images. They looked real. Too real. You did all this in 2 hours? I did this in 20 minutes. She looked up at him. Who are you? Min-jae stood, adjusting his cufflinks again. Habit, maybe. Someone you don't want to cross. Learn the details in that folder. Memorize them. Tomorrow at 9, Officer Choi will arrive. You'll answer her questions. You'll smile. You'll play the role. Understood? Amira nodded slowly. Good. Get some sleep. You look exhausted. He walked toward his room, then paused at the hallway. And Amira, she looked up. Don't try to leave. My men are outside, just in case you get ideas. The door to his room closed. Amira sat there, folder in her lap, heart still racing. She was trapped. Not in Korea, in this apartment. With a man who could fake government documents and had bodyguards stationed outside like this was normal. She opened the folder again, read every detail, birth dates, favorite foods, the name of the restaurant where they had their first date. It was so thorough, it was terrifying. By 3 a.m, she'd memorized everything. By 4, she still couldn't sleep. She stood by the window, looking out at Seoul's skyline. The city lights stretched endlessly. Somewhere out there, Jason was probably sleeping peacefully, thinking he'd ruined her life. He had no idea what she'd just walked into. Her phone buzzed, a text from her best friend, Keisha, back in LA. Girl, you good? Haven't heard from you in 2 days. Amira stared at the message. What could she even say? Yeah, I'm fine. Just fake married a Korean Mafia boss to avoid deportation. How's your week? She put the phone down. At 8:30 the next morning, Min-jae knocked on her door. Officer Choi will be here in 30 minutes. Get dressed. Look like you live here. Amira came out wearing jeans and a sweater, casual, comfortable. Min-jae looked her up and down. Change. What? You're my wife, not a college student. Change. Amira's jaw clenched. I don't have anything else. Disappeared into his room and came back with a garment bag. Wear this. Inside was a simple but expensive dress, cream-colored, elegant. Are you serious? 9 minutes, he said, walking away. Amira changed. The dress fit perfectly. Of course it did. When she came out, Min-jae was setting coffee cups on the table. 2, 1 half empty, like they'd been sitting together. He glanced at her, nodded once. Better. The doorbell rang. Amira's heart jumped into her throat. Min-jae walked to the door, calm as ever. He opened it, smiled warmly. Totally different from the cold man she'd seen yesterday. Officer Choi, please, come in. A woman in her 40s stepped inside, clipboard in hand. She looked around the apartment with sharp, assessing eyes. Mr. Kang, Mrs. Kang. She nodded at Amira. Amira forced a smile. Hello. Officer Choi didn't smile back. I'll need to ask you both some questions, separately. Min-jae didn't flinch. Of course, whatever you need. Amira's palms were sweating. Officer Choi looked directly at her. Mrs. Kang, let's start with you. Officer Choi sat across from Amira at the dining table. Min-jae had disappeared into his office. The door was closed. They were alone. Choi clicked her pen. How long have you known your husband? 2 years. We met at a charity event in Itaewon. What was he wearing? Amira blinked. That wasn't in the folder. She improvised. A gray suit. He always wears suits. Choi wrote something down, didn't look up. What side of the bed does he sleep on? The left. Does he snore? Sometimes, when he's really tired. What's his mother's name? Amira froze. The folder hadn't mentioned family. Her mind raced. He doesn't talk about his family much. Choi finally looked up. That's convenient. Amira's throat tightened. It's true. His mother passed away when he was young. It's painful for him. Choi studied her. Long, hard. Then she stood. I'll speak with your husband now. She walked toward the office, knocked twice. Min-jae opened the door immediately, like he'd been waiting right there. They went inside. The door closed again. Amira sat there, hands clenched in her lap. She had no idea if she'd just blown everything. 5 minutes passed. 10. Finally, the door opened. Min-jae and Officer Choi stepped out. Choi's expression was unreadable. Everything appears to be in order, she said. But I'll be conducting a follow-up inspection in 2 weeks. Unannounced. Min-jae nodded. We understand. Choi looked at Amira one last time. Welcome to Korea, Mrs. Kang. She left. The door clicked shut. Amira exhaled. She hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath. Min-jae turned to her. His mother's still alive. What? My mother. She's alive, lives in Busan. Amira's stomach dropped. Then why did you? I told Choi the same thing you did. She was testing if our stories matched. He walked past her toward the kitchen. You did fine. Fine? I made up half of it. And I covered for you. That's how this works. He poured himself water. 2 weeks. That's how long you have to actually learn to live here. With me. Amira stood. And then what? Then you get your visa extended, and we continue until it's safe to end this. Safe? Min-jae's jaw tightened slightly. First crack in his armor. There are people who can't know this marriage is fake. People who would use that information against me. What people? He set the glass down. Hard. I said don't ask questions about my work. You're asking me to live in your house, lie to the government, and pretend to be your wife. I think I deserve some answers. Min-jae stared at her. For a moment, she thought he'd kick her out right there. Instead, he said quietly, My sister. What? My sister. Yuri, she's the problem. If she finds out this marriage is fake, she'll expose it, use it to take control of the family business. Amira crossed her arms. And what business is that? The kind you don't want details about. There it was again. That wall. Amira shook. Her head. You know what? Forget it. I'll play along. 2 weeks? Then I'm out. She turned toward her room. Amira. She stopped. Didn't turn around. Thank you, Min-jae said, for not panicking today. She looked back at him. His expression was softer, just barely. Yeah. Well, I'm good at surviving. She went to her room and closed the door. The next few days were surreal. Amira moved through the apartment like a ghost. Min-jae left early every morning, came back late, sometimes with his bodyguards, sometimes alone. They didn't talk much, but she noticed things, the way he always checked the locks twice before bed, the way his phone buzzed constantly, messages in Korean she couldn't quite see, the way he'd stand at the window sometimes, staring out at the city with this look. Tired, heavy. On the 4th night, Amira couldn't sleep. She went to the kitchen for water and found Min-jae already there, leaning against the counter, glass of whiskey in hand. He looked. Up. Can't sleep? Not really. He gestured to the bottle. Want some? She hesitated, then nodded. He poured her a glass, handed it to her. They stood there in silence, drinking. Niodo himdulji? Amira asked quietly. You're struggling too, right? Min-jae's eyes flickered. Surprise. Then something else. Vulnerability, maybe. Yeah, he admitted. I am. Why? He looked into his glass. Because I'm tired of pretending, and now I've dragged you into it. Amira studied him, really looked at him, not the sharp suits or the cold authority, the person underneath. You didn't drag me, she said. I jumped. He almost smiled. That was stupid of you. Probably. They drank in silence again. Then Minji said, Tomorrow night there's an event. Business associates? You'll need to come with me, play the wife in public. Amira's chest tightened. What kind of event? Dinner. Formal. Lots of people who'll ask questions. Great. I'll have a dress sent over, and paused. Try not to speak too much Korean. Some of these people, they'll test you. Test me how? They'll want to see if you're really Korean enough to be my wife. Amira's grip on her glass tightened. Because I'm black. Min-jae didn't deny it. Yes, she laughed bitterly. So I'm not Korean enough for your people. And back home, I'm not black enough for mine. Cool. Love that for me. I'm sorry. She looked at him startled. What? I'm sorry you have to deal with that. It's not fair. It was the first genuine thing he'd said to her. Amira set her glass down. Yeah, well, life's not fair. She walked back to her room, but before she closed the door, she heard him say quietly, For what it's worth, I think you're enough. She froze, looked back. He wasn't looking at her, just staring into his drink. Amira didn't say anything. She closed the door. The next evening, a garment bag arrived. Inside was a floor-length black gown, elegant, stunning, and a colossal. Note in Min-jae's handwriting, Don't let them make you feel small. Amira stared at the note for a long time, Then she got dressed. When she stepped out, Min-jae was waiting by the door in a black tuxedo. He looked at her, and for the first time she saw something real in his eyes. "You look—" "Don't," Amira interrupted. "Let's just go." They went. The car ride was silent, tense. When they pulled up to the restaurant, some exclusive place in Cheongdam-dong, cameras flashed outside. Min-jae stepped out first, offered his hand. Amira took it. They walked inside together, and every single person turned to stare. The whispers started immediately. Not loud, just present, like static in the air. Amira felt every eye on her as they walked through the restaurant. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, men in tuxedos, women dripping in diamonds, and her. Min-jae's hand was on the small of her back, steady, grounding. "Smile," he whispered in English. "You belong here." She didn't feel like she belonged here. They reached their table, 6 other people already seated, business types, older, polished. One woman, mid-50s, hair pulled back tight, looked Amira up and down slowly. "Min-jae-si," she said in Korean. "You didn't mention your wife was interesting." Amira understood every word. Min-jae pulled out her chair. "My wife is Korean, born in LA, fluent in both languages." The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. How modern." Amira sat, kept her face neutral. Another man leaned forward, older, glasses. "So, Mrs. Kang, what do you do?" "I teach English," Amira replied in Korean, his eyebrows raised slightly. "Your Korean is quite good." "Thank you. My mother made sure of it." "And your father?" "Here we go." "American. From Detroit." Silence. The woman from earlier smiled thinly. "How exotic." Amira's jaw tightened. She felt Min-jae's hand brush against hers under the table. Warning or support, maybe both. "Exotic's one word for it," Amira said lightly. "I prefer complete." The table went quiet. Min-jae's lips twitched, almost a smile. The woman's expression hardened. "Well, I'm sure it must be difficult, navigating 2 worlds." "Not really," Amira said. "I don't navigate. I live in both." Min-jae squeezed her hand briefly, then let go. The rest of dinner was torture. Polite questions that weren't polite. Comments about her hair, natural curls pinned up elegantly, that were really comments about her not fitting in. Subtle tests of her Korean knowledge, her chopstick grip, whether she knew proper formal speech. She passed every test, and they hated her for it. By dessert, Amira was exhausted, bone-deep tired. Min-jae leaned in, lips near her ear. "You're doing great. I want to leave. Soon." But then she walked in, a woman in a blood-red dress, mid-30s, striking. She moved through the restaurant like she owned it. Min-jae's entire body went rigid. "Who's that?" Amira whispered. "My sister." Yuri Kang stopped at their table, smiled, cold. "Oppa," she said sweetly. "You didn't tell me you'd be here tonight." "I didn't know you would be." Yuri's eyes slid to Amira, assessed, judged. "So this is the wife." She switched to English. Perfect, crisp. "American, right?" "Afro-Korean," Amira corrected. "Right." Yuri smiled wider. "How unexpected." Min-jae never mentioned he was seeing anyone, and then suddenly, married, so fast. Min-jae stood. "We should go." "Already?" Yuri's hand landed on his arm. "Stay, let's talk. I haven't seen you in weeks." "We have plans." "Cancel them." It wasn't a suggestion. Min-jae's expression was ice. "Good night, Yuri." He took Amira's hand and pulled her up gently. They left. Outside, the air was cooler. Amira breathed deeply. "That was—" "I know." Min-jae cut her off. He was already on his phone, texting rapidly in Korean. The car pulled up. They got in. Min-jae's jaw was clenched, tight. "She knows," Amira said quietly. "She suspects." "What's the difference?" He looked at her. "The difference is time. If she confirms it, she'll use it to destroy me." "How?" "Immigration fraud, contract violations. She'll expose everything. Take the company. Take—" He stopped himself. "Take what?" Min-jae looked away. "Everything I've built." The car rode in silence. When they got back to the apartment, Min-jae poured himself another drink, his third tonight. "You should sleep," he said without looking at her. "So should you." "I can't." Amira hesitated, then sat on the couch. "Talk to me." "About what?" "Why you hate your sister so much." Min-jae laughed bitterly. "I don't hate her. I fear her." He drank. "She's smarter than me, more ruthless, and she's been waiting for me to fail since our father died." "Why?" "Because he left everything to me, not her, and she's never forgiven him, or me." Amira watched him, saw the weight he carried. "You're not going to fail," she said. "You don't know that." "No, but I know you're not someone who gives up easily." He looked at her then, really looked. "Why are you being nice to me?" "Because you're being honest, finally." Min-jae set his glass down, walked over, sat beside her, close. "Amira." "Yeah?" "I think—" He stopped, swallowed. "I think I'm starting to care about you. Actually care. Not just this arrangement." Her heart skipped. "That's a problem," she whispered. "I know." They sat there, too close, too honest. Then his phone buzzed. He looked at it. His face went pale. "What?" He showed her the screen, a video, grainy, from a security camera. It showed Amira walking into a cafe, her favorite one near Hongdae. Then the video cut. A message appeared in Korean. "She's easy to find. Be careful, Appa." Sent from Yuri. Amira's blood ran cold. Min-jae stood immediately. "Pack a bag. Now." "What?" "You're not safe here. Not anymore." "Min-jae! Now!" She ran to her room, threw clothes into a bag, hands shaking. When she came back out, Min-jae was on the phone, speaking rapid Korean, harsh, commanding. He hung up, looked at her. "We're leaving. Different location. Somewhere she doesn't know about." "Where?" "Somewhere I should have taken you from the beginning." They left through a back exit, different car, no bodyguards this time, just them. Min-jae drove fast, silent. Amira watched the city blur past. "Is she going to hurt me?" she asked quietly. Min-jae's hands tightened on the wheel. "Not if I can help it." They drove for an hour, out of Seoul, into quieter streets, a neighborhood Amira didn't recognize. Min-jae pulled into an underground garage, killed the engine. "Stay close to me." They took an elevator up. Min-jae's hand never left hers. The elevator opened to a hallway. He led her to a door, unlocked it. Inside was smaller, simpler, nothing like the penthouse. "Safe house," Min-jae explained. "No one knows about this. Not even my men." Amira set her bag down. "How long do we stay here?" "Until I figure out how to handle Yuri." "And if you can't?" He looked at her, tired, scared, human. "Then we run." They didn't sleep. Amira sat on the small couch, knees pulled to her chest. Min-jae paced, back and forth, phone in hand, 3 a.m. "She's not going to stop," Amira said. "I know." "So what do we do?" Min-jae stopped pacing, looked at her. "I give her what she wants." "Which is?" "The company, my inheritance, everything." Amira stood. "You're just going to hand it over?" "If it keeps you safe, yes." Her chest tightened. "Min-jae, you can't." "I already lost someone once because I chose power over people." His voice cracked, just slightly. "I won't do it again." Amira crossed the room, stood in front of him. "Who did you lose?" He looked away. "My wife. My real wife. 3 years ago." The air left the room. "She died in a car accident," Min-jae continued. "But it wasn't an accident. Yuri tampered with the brakes. I could never prove it. But I know." Amira's hand went to her mouth. "Min-jae, so yes, I'll give Yuri everything, because I can't." His voice broke. "I can't lose someone else." Amira reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. "We'll figure this out," she said. "Together." "How?" "I don't know yet, but running won't fix this." Min-jae's phone buzzed. He looked at it. His expression darkened. "What?" He turned the screen toward her. Another message, from an unknown number. Looking for someone? Below it, a photo. Amira, outside a coffee shop, today. The one she'd been to before they fled. But the timestamp was from 20 minutes ago. Impossible, unless... That's not me, Amira whispered. Min-jae's face went white. She's using old footage, playing with us. Another message appeared. Next time it'll be real. Call off your fake marriage, Appa, or I'll make sure everyone knows what you've done. Immigration, police, everyone. Min-jae threw his phone across the room. It hit the wall, shattered. I'm done, he said quietly. I'm calling her, ending this. Wait! No, this is over. You're going back to LA. I'll pay for everything. Set you up. Just go, please. Amira grabbed his arm. I'm not leaving you. You have to. Why? Because He stopped, swallowed hard. Because I care about you too much to let you stay. She stared at him, heart pounding. You said you're tired of pretending, she said. So stop. Stop pretending this is just business. Stop pretending you don't feel something. Amira, I'm not running. Not from Yuri. Not from this. Not from you. Min-jae looked at her. Really looked. Like he was memorizing her face. Then he kissed her. Not desperate like at the airport. Not performative like at the restaurant. Real. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. We can't win this, he whispered. Maybe not. But we can try. Morning came too fast. Min-jae made a call. Not to Yuri, to someone else. Who? Amira asked. A lawyer. Someone Yuri doesn't control. Can they help? Maybe, if we're smart. The lawyer arrived an hour later, an older woman, sharp eyes. She listened while Min-jae explained everything. When he finished, she leaned back. This is messy. I know. But it's fixable. Barely. She looked at Amira. You're willing to testify about the visa situation? Amira nodded. If it helps. It might. If we frame this as a marriage of necessity that became genuine. Immigration fraud is hard to prove if the relationship is real now. It is real, Min-jae said quietly. The lawyer's eyebrow raised. Good. Then we have a case. I'll need documentation, proof of cohabitation, witnesses, and... She paused. A real wedding, public, official. Amira's eyes widened. What? If you want to make this legitimate, you need to actually get married, properly. Min-jae looked at Amira. It's your choice. She should have said no, should have run. Instead, she said, Okay. 3 weeks later, small ceremony, city hall, just them and 2 witnesses. Amira wore a simple white dress. Min-jae wore a suit. No cameras, no performance, just them. When the officiant asked if she took him as her husband, Amira looked at Min-jae. This man who'd saved her, protected her, let her see him break. I do. He slipped a ring on her finger. Real this time. I do, he said. And when they kissed, it felt like breathing. Yuri tried to fight it, filed complaints, made threats. But the lawyer was good. The evidence was solid, and Min-jae stopped hiding. He told the truth about the arrangement, about falling in love, about choosing Amira over everything else. Immigration cleared them. Yuri lost her leverage. She disappeared after that, back to whatever hole she'd crawled from. 6 months later, Amira sat at their dining table, different apartment, smaller, theirs, editing a video on her laptop. She'd started vlogging again, about being Afro-Korean, about navigating Seoul, about marriage. Min-jae came home, loosened his tie, kissed her forehead. How was work? She asked in all Korean. Exhausting. You? Same. He sat beside her, watched her edit. You're going to post that? He asked. Yeah, why? Because you're talking about us, about everything. Amira looked at him. Is that okay? Min-jae smiled, genuine, warm. Yeah, it's okay. She posted the video. The comments flooded in, some supportive, some hateful, some curious. But Amira didn't care anymore. She wasn't half of anything. She was whole, Afro-Korean, American, soul-based, married, messy, real. And she was done apologizing for it. Min-jae pulled her away from the laptop. Come here. She let him hold her. They stood by the window. city lights stretching endlessly. You ever regret it? He asked quietly. Kissing me that day? Amira laughed. Every day. He pulled back, mock offended. She smiled. But I'd do it again. He kissed her, slow, certain. Good, he whispered. Because you're stuck with me now. Yeah, I know. They stayed there, together, finally breathing. If Amira's journey stayed with you, like the video, drop a comment on which part of the story hooked you the most, and subscribe for more stories like this.